Hi, my name is Karl Martin, and I am the founder and CEO of Arable Consulting, an organization that is designed to help leaders grow and cultures change. This new podcast is called the Arable Leader, and it's an opportunity to listen in to some conversations with some of our clients and some thought leaders and subject experts on what it takes to be the kind of leader that actually changes the world. It's based on our system, the Arable Way, a true, brave, kind, and curious leadership structure where we get to the very depth of what it takes to be that kind of leader. I have 30 years experience leading organizations. I have a number of years experience coaching significant leaders, and I have the privilege of being in the room with incredible people with incredible stories who lead fantastic organizations. You're going to love this podcast, and you're going to love the diversity of the voices that you hear. Today, I think you're going to love listening to our first podcast. This is a conversation with one of my clients and one of my strongest friends, a man called Jack Hollis. Jack Hollis is the COO of Toyota North America, and he's the president of Toyota Motor Sales. His conversation is going to be full of advice for you around how leadership happens and how you access the very depth of the kind of person that you need to be to lead the kind of organization that you want to lead. Listen up. This is the Arable Leader podcast. I'm Karl Martin, and we're exploring true, brave, kind, curious leadership, leading from your soul. Jack, welcome to the Arable Leader podcast. In fact, welcome to your own home, where this is Jack's home, and we're just grateful to have you here for our first podcast. I know you're heading off to Europe, so grateful for you to be with us today. Jack, I don't know if you know this. In fact, I'm pretty sure you don't know this. But the first time that we ever spoke was on Zoom during that weird moment that we called lockdown. Yeah. And we were in Scotland. You were here in Texas. Yeah. And my kids had all gathered back home, I think, because it was free food and
exactly.
And everything else was going on. But we were watching binging shows at the time, as people did, and we were watching The West Wing. By the way, if you ever want to see leadership exercise, watch West Wing and Ted Lasso. But we were watching these things, and I came on a call with you, and one of my daughters walked past the office and heard your voice and said, "I think Dad's speaking to President Bartlett," because your voice or whatever it was.
Wow.
And so from that moment onwards, every time I was on a call with you, they would say, "Dad's coaching the president."
I don't know about that.
Well, which is a weird thing, really, because and also a true thing, because your title, one of your titles at Toyota, is president.
Yeah.
And more than that, actually, you have, if you don't mind me saying, you have presidential qualities. In Arable, we talk about true, brave, kind, curious, those qualities which are the deep qualities of great leadership, and actually severely lacking in some of our political leaders,
unfortunately,
today. But you carry some of those in a very rich way.
Thank you.
And that's why I wanted you to be the first on my podcast, statesmanlike and presidential.
Quite an honor. First of all, thank you. And I would never use presidential as necessarily my my characterization, but that is kind of a neat. I do not know that story, but I do remember our first phone call, because it didn't take but I've told this several times. It was, and I'm literally like legitimately about 12 seconds into the call, and I said, "This guy and I are connected. Like there's something about this guy that, I mean, it was like that." Wow. And I told my family, "Okay, I don't know what this is all about, but Karl and I, there's something's going to happen here." And it literally started 12 seconds into it, where it was just past the greeting. And I was like, "Okay, I don't know, but this is something, started something pretty good."
It's amazing how wrong you can be in 12 seconds.
I'm still not sure I'd be proud of that decision to continue on, but I know it's all good.
Let's talk about those qualities, though, because the Arable Leader podcast is going to have 5 questions that we're going to go after. The true question, the brave question, the kind question, the curious question, and then this kind of this soul question, this final question, which is the catalyzing force principle of your leadership life.
Okay.
But let's just run through some of those things and maybe find out a little bit more about you. So
let's do it.
here's the true question. Tell me something about your leadership life and your leadership journey. Where does that drive come from? Because when I look at you, I see a drive for excellence, a drive for leadership, a drive for success even. Where did that come from? Where was that born in you?
Wow. I think pretty young. I grew up in a family that is centered a lot around sports. Father was a professional golfer. He actually wanted to be a professional baseball player. Didn't work out, and he turned that competitive spirit into golf.
Right.
At the same time,
How are you such a bad golfer?
Stop already. Just
Go.
because I let him win. The fact is my mom's family was on baseball. They had a grandfather was a professional baseball player, my uncle. Okay, so I had this. The drive, I think, has always come from this idea of effort, that to be the best you can be. It's part of my personal journey, my faith journey, my physical journey. All of these journeys have really been focused on maximizing my effort, which in theory should maximize your performance. My drive it's really come from being how can I be the best I can be?
Yeah.
It doesn't always mean that I'm better than you or better than somebody. It means I'm as good as I can be. And I think there's a differential there. So what drives me isn't necessarily, people will say, well, your competitive spirit, Jack, is so heavy. I'm like, it is. It's not, it can sometimes come across as I want to beat you.
Yes.
No, what it is I want to be as good as I can maximize that skill set, that mental approach, whatever it is, to be the best I can be. Wow. And I think that's where it comes from. The leadership portion is then how do I take that and I hope foster that in others. Now, I always talk about, one of the things I love is, do you wake up every morning and say, I can't wait to come in 5th place? Never. Hopefully people wake up and go, I can't wait to be number 1, or I can't wait to compete to be the best.
Yes.
That's the nuance that I think has driven me in my career and my personal life, my home life, all my life.
So let's play with that a little bit. To be the best, what happens when you're not? What happens when there's parts of you that you realize, actually, I'm not the best? I mean, everyone to a certain extent, and we talk about this, has an imposter syndrome in them and thinks, if they only find out that I don't know what I'm talking about.
I've dealt with that many times.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. What do you do when you walk into a room and you go, I don't know, I'm not good. How do you handle that? Because you're exposed as a leader at the top of your organization at Toyota. And people are expecting you to have answers.
Okay, well, I guess there's a couple of things. One piece is what happens when you're not the best. There's still go back and work on it. There's still to make progress. One of the things I love at Toyota, one of our core principles is Kaizen. This concept that people don't really understand about Kaizen, it's about continuous improvement. But the word continuous improvement doesn't mean every day it's a little bit better. It's sometimes you're making a big jump, and sometimes you go sideways or even backwards a little bit. The net effect is to get better. Okay. I don't have to necessarily be best. I have to be able to know that I have given my best. And I think there's a big nuance. I'm comfortable, I'm okay inside if I have given my best effort. If that doesn't win that, whatever that thing is, see, I can live with that. In fact, I can feel actually somewhat confident and joyful in it because I know I gave my best. That's item 1. Item 2, on the imposter side, as you're talking about, is there is an element that often happens, which is like, how did I get here? I mean, I've been fortunate. The company has put trust in me and it put me in positions of leadership and being able to be responsible for like budgets and
30
people.
30 years?
It's 32 years now.
You don't look old enough.
Hey, well, I'm definitely old enough. I always say I've been married to my wife for 33, been married to Toyota for 32, and they both have been incredible relationships. But I guess for the imposter side, I would simply say there are definitely these times where you just look and say, man, do I really know what I'm doing? And almost every one of those times, it's like, even if I don't,
Yeah.
You keep learning, and you keep asking, and you keep trying, and you keep
Yeah.
doing your best.
And it's almost a good thing, isn't it? Because it keeps you humble.
Oh,
It
totally.
stops you believing the hype that you actually have got it all, that you're always the man. It makes you reliant upon other people.
100%.
Yeah.
And I actually think as we've gotten further in our careers, and I don't know, Karl, if you would see the same thing, the further into your career and more success you've had,
Yeah.
the more you're reliant on other people.
That's right.
The more that you realize that you are only this part
Yeah.
of a huge thing, but it's all the people around you that you're leading
Yeah.
who they need to be maximized.
That's right. And that's why you have an amazing coach.
I have an amazing coach, Karl Martin, Martin.
Thank you. Let's talk about the brave question, which in my mind, and I've written about this, and we talk a lot.
Yeah.
It's about purpose, focus. It's about pruning yourself and saying, "This is what I'm going after." What's the point of you? What is the point of you?
I'm still trying to figure it out. Could you help me? You're supposed to be my coach.
Maybe. Well, what is your unique contribution? What do you bring into a room at Toyota or anywhere else that like almost no one else brings? What do you say? That's what I'm for.
Yeah. I'm going to give it. I guess I'm going to answer it two ways. What I would like it to be is that what I bring into the room, which I believe I do, and what other people have told me, is that I bring encouragement.
Yeah.
I bring support for you, whoever you are, in whatever role you're in, at whatever level you're at, that I bring encouragement to take you from step 1 to step 2, or from level 4 to level 5, whatever that is. I think that's what I believe my purpose is, both my home life and my work life, which I think, by the way, leadership should be the same for both.
That's right.
They might have different tactics, different executional pieces. So I think that some other people would say what I bring is an energy. Now, that's not my purpose. My purpose is to serve, and I serve by encouraging. That was what I would say.
Your spirit is energetic.
My spirit is energetic, and part of that is that I'm just thankful for every day that I get with my company, my wife, my kids. I'm very grateful as a person that I can't believe that I have this opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. That's amazing. Let's jump into kindness, because I think if I were to say that of those 4 qualities, what's Jack's quality, I would say kindness, which, by the way, isn't niceness, because sometimes you're not nice, but
especially with you.
But there is a kindness in you which is deep, and I think it's one of the strongest qualities of an individual and the strongest qualities of a leader. Now, I coach a number of people and a number of organizations, and many of them use the mantra "people before profit" or "people before process," and they mean it. But actually, when I look at their organization and I look at their leadership life, it's not true. It's not real. It seems to be for you. So tell me why that is. Tell me why that's important, and then maybe we can get into some granular tactics as to how you do that.
First of all, thank you. I receive your compliment about kindness. I don't think until you and I have been working together, I don't know if I would have used that word. But kindness is something that I believe we need to encourage in others.
Yeah.
And we can do it by modeling it.
That's right.
When we talk about the people before performance is really my favorite. People before performance. I think that many times I, as an employee, was made, demanded, commanded to do things.
Yeah.
And I did them. And early in my career, I was all about, I think where I made some mistakes was I was like, look at me. I'm competing. I'm good. I can get the job done.
Yeah.
And so I would take on more, if someone gave me responsibility, but they would usually demand it of you and command, you have to do this. And so I would do it. I saw myself getting tired and sometimes irritated with that boss or my peers. Why? I was just doing a job. Like, why was I getting? What I learned through that early part of my career was that my competitive spirit was more about looking at me.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was actually wrong. Now, it shaped who I was later, so I'm happy that I went through it. I wouldn't necessarily change it. But what I learned is I can get the same performance out of others by supporting them, loving them, and putting their own person before performance, where I would literally look at someone, find out where they're at, encourage where they're at, so that they could perform the job we needed. there's this multiplier effect that you can't calculate when a person is doing a job because they want to and are motivated to do it versus telling them they have to do it. There's another plus alpha that we can get to, and I've actually seen it happen.
One of the things that you and I have spoken about in the past is those two significant seasons in a leader's life. Season number one, when you've learned to be a father to children, when you get them to do things. Season number two, where you've learned to be a father to fathers or a mother to mothers, where you've learned to equip and encourage, where they become the hero of the story. You're no longer the hero of the story. You're the mentor. And I think that's what you're describing in that. Can I talk to you a little bit about trust? Because we talk a lot about trust as being like the
favorite topic,
probably the greatest currency of a team, greatest currency of a leader. Trust.
That's right.
And we have an equation. Let me play this with you. It feels to me that human nature, if as long as you grew up in a relatively stable household, as a child you trust everything. You just trust. And then what happens, I think, is you mistrust. You put your trust in something you shouldn't have put your trust in. And then what kicks in is distrust. You go from trust to distrust. And so the whole of the way in which I think corporate America works or corporate UK works is we don't trust people. And I think a trait of a great leader is that ability to get far side trust again, to go through that and know, people will let me down, people will reject me, but I am going to posture myself towards trust. Jack, tell me what happens when you're in a relationship with someone in your team and you actually don't trust them. How do you deal with that? Because you've still got to lead them, you've still got to work with them.
It's actually a struggle. It's a struggle emotionally for me and intellectually for me when I can't trust someone or I believe that person's not trusting me. It can go both ways. I've experienced it both ways. What it does is it limits the freedom of work. It limits the freedom to be your whole self. It limits the performance. And it makes you question things. You start to question your words. You start to question what the other person's words are. The lack of trust, which unfortunately, I think is pervasive in most of life today. I don't care if it's the UK, if it's America or anywhere else. But it is also that piece of when you find it and when you cultivate it and when you grow it can be the most enjoyable outcome for a team. It's very...
So let's get granular then for a moment. What are you doing at Toyota right now with your teams to build trust, to understand trust, and to kind of put trust into the water?
Wow. Tactically, I would say there's two or three, and one has to do with you. I'll get to that in a second. The first one is you must, to build trust, you must take the time as a leader, or not even as a leader, it could be as a leader or as a peer, to meet one-on-one with the other person. That one-on-one time needs to be able to go beyond work. For me, my experience has been the most effective building of trust is to ask questions that allow the person to share from their heart. Now, there are people, and I have a couple that I work with, who they're not really wanting to get deep. So it takes time. Every person, though, in my belief, wants to be known. But some people have a lot of barriers and a lot of hurts that they don't really want to get into. So the sensitivity to that is really important. But the key tactic is to spend time one-on-one so that you can talk about things and get reaction from those things. And sharing part of yourself, you have to be able to be vulnerable. And the vulnerable piece is what is critical, in my mind, my experience, to building trust. Or the lack of. Less vulnerability, really difficult time to be able to get to find trust. That's one tactic. Another tactic, and I say this to all of you, Karl Martin is an amazing coach, counselor, friend. I made a decision to have my team engage with you because as the team, all of us together work with you, there's an element that because there's almost like an extra party in the room, you can ask questions and you can drive deeper into some things because they're not in constant relationship with you in the workplace. And there's been a huge benefit such that our trust factor has grown at a significantly greater pace.
Yeah.
Because of having Karl, you as part of our team. So that's one of the things that, as I get to, to share here is with Arable and with Karl, that I think is important to understand is that asking for help is another way, is another tactic in growing trust.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's move on to curiosity, because I love that kind of quality, and I love that quality in you. You love life, and you embrace life, and you're enthusiastic about life. I was coaching very recently with an organization, and one of the things I said to them was, I think you've got into a comfort zone thinking, and you can't grow in a comfort zone. You can rest in a comfort zone. You can restore in a comfort zone. You can't grow in a comfort zone. And you used to be hungry, and you used to be humble, and you used to be scared, and you're not scared enough yet. So here's my question to you: is what scares you right now about your job, your role? What makes you get up and go, wow, I got to do this? What are you scared about?
Interesting. Karl, so I don't really know. I'm sorry. I don't really think I'm scared of anything. I'm actually, I don't think I'm scared of anything. I'm so excited about the next challenge that I look at it as almost like a skill, like in sports. Like I have another opportunity to get better at something. So I don't think I'm scared. I'm actually just more, not that I want bad things to happen, but each new challenge is for me, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
So let's reframe that then.
Okay.
What are you, you're not scared, but what is stretching you right now? What is making, I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to solve for that. That's a big one. That's a problem in the world, or it's a problem at Toyota, or it's a problem for me that I don't know.
I think there's an element that maybe it's more personal, because it's not, the more I've been given responsibility for more people. Okay. And over the last, 10 years, I've had multiple job enhancements or promotions that have given me more responsibility. I think with more responsibility, I guess what's stretching me is the unknown. So for example, in my job, whereas I used to be responsible for the sales, marketing, after sales type of group, when they added to me recently all the supply chain, the logistics, and the manufacturing, and tying that all together, so it's 100% of all operations.
Wow.
What I guess, maybe I am scared. No, but maybe the word that's pushing me is...
You should be scared.
Well, yes, but it's the unknown. It's the unknown of what you don't know.
Yes.
And so back to the imposter piece is like, I don't really know. So I think what I think is stretching me is there's an element here. If I look at this new responsibility, it's like, since I don't know, but for me, it's like encouragement. Okay, go meet people, ask all the questions, keep asking questions, keep meeting people.
Yes.
So I guess what's challenging me is the unknown and my desire to make it work better than it has been working.
That's right.
And there's a confidence that says if I ask all the right people, all the experts, they'll tell me everything you need to know.
Yeah.
But it's still the unknown of what to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's stretching me. Maybe it is a little bit scary sometimes.
And don't miss this, because the humility of someone who's at the top of their game, actually saying, I don't know, please help me. Can you tell me? These are things that seem very obvious, but very, very quickly, if we live out of our ego rather than out of our humanity, we don't get the help that we need, and we can't be the leaders that we want to be.
Karl, what you just said, I think, is where people in my industry, people in my own company, myself, where we've made errors throughout a long time, is we need to stop and say, I don't know. I'm not sure. Hey, can you help me? Can you tell me what you meant by that?
Yeah.
I think as in corporate world, so many people want to be seen, including myself for much of my career, was you want to be seen as knowing it.
Yeah, that's right.
As being in control. I can get it done and I understand everything. Actually, I think where the value has come in and the growth is to say, hey, Karl, I could use your help. I don't really see what's happening here. I don't understand the depth of this. Can you give me some insight? That unlocks the doors of true growth.
Yeah, and that's humility. We've talked about my definition of humility, which is not thinking less of yourself.
That's right.
or thinking of yourself less.
Yeah.
It's thinking correctly about yourself.
That's right.
It's being able to say, I'm brilliant at these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not so good at these things. And showing up with that kind of posture enables you to ask questions and not be ashamed of asking all those questions.
So maybe I'll flip it back asking you. So that person or in that element, which is, think correctly of yourself, and you think, man, I am brilliant in this. I'm really good at this.
Yep.
How does that stay away from being arrogant or prideful? How do you maintain that piece?
Well, I think realizing both sides of the conversation. I'm brilliant at these things. I'm not so good at these things.
Yeah.
I don't believe my hype. I don't listen to my press.
Yeah.
I wake up and put my pants on the same way as anyone else.
Yeah.
If anyone knew, I build this model where I talk about honesty, humility, wisdom, impact. Honesty, I'm a mess up. If you knew everything there was to know about me, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's true. But if we can get beyond that and know that we're broken people and beautiful people and we live in a broken world, and then humility, thinking correctly about yourself, there are things I'm not great at.
Yeah.
Wisdom is the overflow of that, which is, I think it is knowing what is yours to do.
Yeah.
Knowing what is someone else's to do. And actually, I think knowing what is God's to do, not to worry about.
That's right.
The impact that you have will flow out of that threefold conversation. Because you actually look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh gosh. So
that seems, I appreciate it because I often think about that.
Yeah.
There are things I know I do well, and I know there's things that I really don't do well. And I tend to look at it as the things I do well, really, really push into those. The ones I don't do well, find all the other people around me that do them really well, and team up with them.
Work out what you do well and get better at it.
Totally.
Work out what you don't do well. You might still have to do some of them.
I agree.
But actually, there are people around you who can do those really well.
Coach you, teach you, and help you do it.
100%. Let's get to my fifth question, which is the kind of more enigmatic question, but I think it's a core foundational question for us. It's a question predicated on one of my core beliefs, which is there is way more to our life than 5 senses that we're operating in, than reacting to this world.
Yeah.
There's something that's deeper and there's something that's longer, and there's the essence of a person, which where we get all these leadership qualities from. Talk to me about what's the deep driver for you? What's the key catalyst for you for your leadership journey? What's the force multiplier of Jack Hollis? What makes you you?
Really young and really. First of all, thank you. It's from a young age, I grew up in a family of young Christian believers who my dad and my mom. So what drives me is really a belief, a faith in Jesus Christ. That has been it has been and is my core. It is what I often say this. Hi, my name is Jack Hollis. I work for God. I get paid by Toyota. And some people will be like, dude, you're so weird. And I'm like, I am weird, and I get that. But honestly, I believe what drives me is that I truly believe, whether I'm a dad or a husband, a friend, or executive at Toyota, that all 4 of those are part of the roles been given to me by God to maximize to the benefit of others.
Yeah.
So if I'm at home as a father, my goal, I work for God. My faith is in God to drive me, and so I want to espouse and encourage those things that I believe God has downloaded into me.
Yes.
What I believe are the fruit of the Spirit, and those things of love and joy and peace and patience and goodness and kindness and self-control. These are all things that I want to help my family grow, but I want them at work as well. It's the same exact thing.
Well, let's push into that, because you've got this faith, what drives you, and lots of people who are listening will have, and some won't have, and some of the people I interview will have, some won't have that core belief. How do you play it out at work? Because your job is you're paid by Toyota not to preach at people,
right,
or to pray with everybody, or to. What does that actually mean for your work life?
And I would tell you right now, it's still growing every day. What I would say is it's this element to live out my faith as a leader.
Wow.
Now, when I look at that, one of my favorite words in the human language is servanthood.
Yeah.
Not just serve. Serve is like doing something one time, or service is a project or whatever. Servanthood is this constant state of serving. So for me, how I play that out is living out my faith
Yeah.
by doing what I believe God has called me to do for person one, person two, person 100, person thousands, whatever it is. So one is I must live out that faith. Second one is,
let's pause that for
Sure.
a second, because one of the things that I've heard you say on a number of occasions, and I've heard you speak on a platform around this stuff, is that the most important person on the planet is the person that's standing right in front of you. Could you just reprise that for us? Because I think that flows out of the servanthood piece.
Karl, I'll tell you, it's over time that has become kind of one of my favorite directions. You know, I really believe that inside of me that if God wants to use me for someone else, or someone else for me, I need to be paying attention. So my focus can only be on the person in front of me. If I'm concerned about not you, but the person behind you, other places.
The 4 million people listening.
Or 4 million people listening. It will have a different approach and it will not be authentic. Or transparent.
That's
or
true.
Or curious. See, part of some of the words we're talking about here, especially for me, is true and curious. Do I really want to know the person near me? And I believe what the faith that's in me is saying 100%, because I put that person in front of you. And I don't know why God's put you and Karl and Jack together, but I do know that if I'm curious, asking you questions, you asking me questions, and I being my true self,
we'll discover something.
Now, is it going to be a one-time thing or a forever thing? I don't know. That's not for me to determine. But what I've always said, though, is who's the most important person? Because most people will say, well, most important person in my life is God. Okay. He's inside of you. It's my spouse. Well, that spouse isn't with you right now. I get what you're saying. But at any given moment, the person directly in front of us is the only person you can really have effect on or be affected by. So give that person your all. And in that, I have found freedom, enjoyment, best friends. And I really believe that I've been able to encourage people because they feel seen, heard, and liked, understood. And I do think that's really critical. I do think that's really critical, probably through all four of the true and brave, kind, and curious.
Presence is everything, and being present with people and not always looking beyond that person to see someone else who might be more important, or you might need to speak to them.
Well, as you're saying that, one of the principles that Karl has, that I think has been one of the most effective things is sometimes even when you challenge me and said, are you really being present? Are you calming down enough to don't think about the next meeting or don't think about the next even shot in golf? Are you present for that moment? And I have unfortunately had to say sometimes, well, maybe I'm not. And when I'm not, I just don't think I'm giving enough value to another human being. And it's something that I'm continuously learning in. If I could be more present and true and be true.
Totally. And you know, you have a future orientated perspective on life. You're always looking for the vision and direction. And one of the challenges of that kind of person is that it's difficult to be present because you're always thinking, what's next? What's coming at me? And you have to believe the law of indirect effort at that point, which is if I give myself here, the future is going to look after itself. If I give myself here, this is going to play into my future vision, my future plans.
I appreciate you reminding me of that. And I think too often as an individual, and my guess is many of the people who are going to see this and hear this, they're already thinking about what else they're going to do instead of even paying attention to a podcast.
That's right.
If you're turning into a podcast, listen to it. If you're watching a show, watch it. If you're going to read a book, read it. And I would encourage all, including you and myself, how we can try to remove the distractions around whatever we're doing. We will find a lot of victory.
Brilliant. Jack, we've got to come to an end because people have a lot of things they've got to do.
Sorry.
But it's been awesome. And, you know, I love the fact that our professional relationship has become a friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the fact that you make me better. I hope I make you better.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that what you're identifying and speaking about, and what you carry and what you model in the world is something significantly deeper than strategies or tactics or even concepts. It's what I would call soul leadership. So thank you for being who you are, and thank you for being here with me.
Well, thank you for helping me be more of me, for helping me to improve, for helping me to go. Because I think, like we said before, I can't do it alone. You can't do life alone. And it sure is a lot more fun having a buddy to go do it with.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Karl.
Thanks a lot.
You've been watching The Arable Leader with Karl Martin. Subscribe for more episodes with great leaders. And you can also listen to The Arable Leader wherever you get your podcasts. For more resources for leading in a healthy way, visit arableco.com and check out Karl's new book, The Cave, the Road, the Table, and the Fire: